Hello and welcome to the Car Care Nut channel, and welcome to the 700H, Lexus 700H, or, to all fairness, a 300 series Land Cruiser. This is the only way you can get a 300 series Land Cruiser in the US. And in today's video, we're going to do a tour of the 700H. This particular one is a nori green, pretty special color for me. I'm going to talk about why at the end of the video. And we're going to talk about the 700H difference from the regular one. And a lot more in between, some things we like, some things we don't like, right after this. Let's take a look underneath the 2025 LX700H Overtrail. Pretty long name. And there is a lot of differences here from the regular model to the Overtrail. That's one of the biggest ones. Now, if you off-road, you are very happy with this because this is actually a very functional piece, pretty strong. It is not steel. I'm wondering what kind of composite they used here. But I mean, the thing goes from here all the way to here. Talk about the rest. It does say Lexus on it. Just to remind you that this is not an aftermarket one. That's pretty cool. I mean, if you're going to do an off-road specific model, this is what you want to see on it, not just big wheels and that's it. Now, if you're not going to off-road with it, please don't buy this trim because this is not fun for service because you have to remove this entire thing and it's not fun. However, a small thing that they did. If you look here, they did do a cutout. So basically, you're going to remove all the other bolts. You're going to loosen this one, and slide the cover off, which is, I suppose, makes it a little bit nicer, but still, if you don't off-road, don't buy this trim because it's very specific. Let's look at the front suspension here. So this has AHC, adjustable hydraulic suspension, which is just, yeah, it's the best thing about this. Steel lower control arm, massive steel lower control arm, and it does have a little cover here, so I'm guessing mud and stuff wouldn't go up as much and makes it a little bit more aerodynamic. Oh, this is as aerodynamic as they come, if you would. Now, hydraulic suspension on this does not mean you don't have a coil spring. You still have a coil spring. It's just the shock itself can go up and down, and that's how it lifts the car up and down. This does have a sway bar, pretty big aluminum sway bar link here. It does have upper lower control arm, aluminum knuckle, upper control arm steel. Pretty much everything else is pretty similar to the standard model because this has AHC. If we wrap around, look at the brakes. Now, they did do something here. It's a thing. This is exactly the same caliper as you'll find in a lot of Land Cruisers, 300 series, and 200 series, pretty similar. But they painted it black, and if you come around, we look at this. Look at that. Actually, it wrote Lexus. That's pretty cool. I actually really like that. It's exactly the same caliper. You just painted it and wrote their name on it. Having said that, I feel like this is where funds run out, however you want to call it, because this is not as strong as this. I mean, for off-road purposes, you would want it completely covered. This is not bad, it'll do, but it's not, you hit that on something, it's going to get destroyed. If we look here, let's look at this 10-speed automatic transmission. This is the same in all of them. Really like the simplicity of things. Still don't understand this thing. We looked at it, the GX, same thing. This little cover, assuming to protect it from the catalytic converter, and really much bigger cover here for the neutral safety switch to protect it. And you see this heavy shielding on it. This one also does have a thermostat. So you have thermostat right here. So we would not let the cooler cycle fluid when the transmission is very cold. This helps it warm up a little faster. As soon as we need the cooler, the thermostat opens and then we send fluid to the cooler. The exhaust. Let's talk about the exhaust because, yeah. For some reason, and this is just, I don't know why that is the case. The exhaust quality is actually not great. At least the Toyota standards. Not great. This was kind of a surprise to see this. I don't exactly know what happened. I mean, this is a very expensive car. You expect like LS500 style, or we just reviewed a GR Corolla. That was like beautiful, the typical Toyota exhaust. This one, not so much. Kind of disappointed. I do like this joint, this flex joint. We have another one here. This is a very much a Toyota style joint, but the rest of the quality of the pipe is just, and this muffler here, it's just strange resonator. I don't know. I was not very impressed by that. What I am impressed by is this giant contraption they love to put on Land Cruisers. I call this a Land Cruiser, folks. This is the 300 series. This giant shield over the motor. This is a transfer case. I mean, this is what this truck is meant to do. This is its specialty. Before we move all the way in the back, let's talk about the AHC. So AHC has been going on in the Land Cruiser since the 100 series. So 100 series had it, 200 series has it, now 300 series has it. Possibly one of the best hydraulic systems out there. Some will disagree. Reliability-wise, it's the best systems. It works so well on this truck. It insulates it in a way that when a 100 series loses its hydraulic suspension because it failed and cost doesn't make sense, you immediately notice a difference, and it's a big one, not a small difference. Typical construction like before, you have the valve block and then you have the globes. This is what the community calls them. They're actually accumulators. It's a very simple setup. You have one of these blocks for each wheel. The front is a little bit more involved line-wise because you have the line that runs from here and then it kind of goes across the frame and goes all the way to the top of the shock. But the rear line, I love, because the 100 series is notorious for the rear lines being extremely complicated. Look at this line. If you come here, look at this line, this hard line comes here, which is, there's a lot of space here, turns into this hose and then right into the shock. I mean, how more simple can it be? Super simple. The only concern I have, if I'm doing it this way, for a service standpoint, this is beautiful. From a durability standpoint, however, especially on an off-road truck, if you come outside here, look at it, that hose is sitting right next to the wheel. I mean, if you kick up some heavy rocks or something, you could actually hit that. It's the same thing on the other side. I wish it was a little bit better covered, because that's, like, it's nice for service, but put a cover on it because it's literally just sitting there exposed in the wheel well. And this area, I'm not understanding it very well. This area is open, just open wide. I love it for service because you have access to everything. But it's like, we tucked this all the way here and we have all this open space. I have a feeling, just a feeling, fuel tank is right here. This is something they're starting to do. They're moving fuel tanks to this side of the new platforms. Look all the way up. There's a perfect opening for something. I mean, to me, that's how a fuel pump opening would look like. I wonder if they have an option in some of the countries for a second fuel tank, or that was the original plan to put the fuel tank here, we changed it to here, and they just left the opening. It's just strange that we have just a cover for something, but there's nothing underneath it. It's pretty interesting. Then we look at the rear. I mean, this is one of those rear ends where you're going to look at it today and look at it 10 years from now, and just be there, exactly the same. This particular truck, and this is the interesting part, has triple lockers on your $116,000 truck. Locker right here, center locker, stiff locker. It's just, I don't see a lot of folks who are going to buy a $116,000 truck and go off-road it heavy where you need 3 lockers. That's just, I have to get that off my chest. But hey, if you're going to buy the ultimate, most expensive off-road specific model, you'd want to tell your buddies that you have triple lockers. I think that in itself is, and I get it, but bit overkill. I wish this was more available on the 4Runner and the kind of more cost-effective models that are actually going to go off-road, because I don't know about this one in off-road. Maybe 15 years from now, but definitely not brand new. Don't see that happening a lot. But in case you are going to take it off-road, and this is something they've done only in the Land Cruisers from the factory. If you come around, Jose will show them this. This is the differential vent. Only on the Land Cruisers do they extend them up. See, the diff vent goes all the way here in case you drive through water. They will only do this on the Land Cruiser. 4Runner, GX, I always have it normal right on the diff. Only the Land Cruiser. This goes all the way back to older Land Cruisers. Same, they've always done it from the factory like that. Spare tire. I like that it's a full-size spare tire. This is what you want for this trim. And there's a small complaint. This is where me and Jose had a debate. This would drive me crazy, and I'll tell you why. This spare tire is offset this way. It's not centered. Problem is, once you see it, you can't unsee it, and you can see it from if you're standing behind the car. It's not centered. And if you have OCD, like me, this would be a problem. And this is not the first truck that Toyota has done this to. Now, the previous generation, it was centered. And why? Because we didn't have this big muffler. We just had a tailpipe. And here's my wonder. Look, it's not the end of the world, but I'm just gonna get it off my chest. If we have all this giant space here, maybe put that muffler here and move this part in the back, and then we can center the spare tire. I guess we can take one takeaway from this. The person that designed this part didn't have OCD, because this would be a problem for me. I admit it. Not the end of the world though. Let's look at the covering here. They have decent covering, except there is a problem here. Let's look at it. This is where the AHC pump and reservoir live. I have actually a pretty big problem with that. See, back in the 100 series days, which was the great to me, that used to be under the hood. Easy to service, protected, right there. You can, on a daily basis, check your AHC fluid and pick out leaks when they just start. Then the 200 series came about. They moved it here. However, it was fully covered and protected, where you have to remove a small inspection panel to see the fluid level and add. Here, it's still in the same spot, but now we have nothing. It's really exposed to the elements. I mean, by the time you actually take this off-road, that will be covered with mud. And you can't even see the level. As soon as you open it, all kinds of mud and debris will go inside. Terrible idea. A little cover would have been really nice, at least on the off-road specific model. That's one thing that I can't believe they missed that. This is bad spot. Okay, we can live with that, but a cover would be really nice there, because that lack of cover makes this irrelevant. Because we're gonna cover the part that we need to protect with mud because it has nothing. The trailer hitch. Let's talk about that. Unlike the GX, where it felt like a complete add-on that just absolutely makes no sense, here, this looks fine, but I still wish they would have thought this a little bit better, because you have these clips, you have to remove them to expose the trailer hitch. These are service clips. You need a tool to remove these. Like, you need at least a screwdriver or something to remove them. I wish they would have made like a turn lock or something, just to make it more user-friendly. So if you need to expose your trailer hitch, you have to remove these two clips. You do have your trailer connection pins here, and that is actually a really nice thing that's built in. But the last thing we're going to talk about is specific to this model is not my thing. I'll admit, I actually think these wheels don't look at it and the exterior a little bit better, but you do have bigger tires, smaller wheels. These are 18-inch wheels. I mean, with cars going the way they are, this is like a very small wheel, but this is part of the over-trail package. If you're really into off-road, I think this is the package to buy, because it's already factory prepped to do that. And speaking of off-road, this is not a good idea for off-road. But here's the nice thing. If you remove this, do you see the bolts right here? Two bolts, they run across. If you remove it, it's actually not part of the body. Like if you go GX460, you remove this, you just have open pieces, like something is missing. This one is not, because this is part of the body that covers it. This is separate. I like that part. This is really nice. So if you're gonna go off-roading with this would probably be the first thing I would remove. Otherwise, this is the first thing that's gonna get damaged because it's way too low. Look at it. Let's go to the next section and we'll look at this. And yeah, it's pretty low. Let's take a tour around this car and talk about a few things. So, the front. The previous one had a massive grille. I mean, the next level of massive. This one has even a more massive grille. I'm guessing there is no way to make a car this big has a small grille. It just doesn't work. They did it before, but it doesn't work anymore in 2025. The looks in the front, I mean, I want to say it, but I don't want to say it. It's slightly on the understated side in this segment. because you got cars like this and this, although this one not exactly, but yeah. So let's talk about the details. What I like about this car is it does have some roots directly to the Land Cruiser. It's a 300 series. So there are some things that are completely just, we're going to do things on our own. And we don't care about the competition and what they do. Things like this giant dip in the middle and then up. This is a Land Cruiser special. You see them when you drive, and you know you're driving something just massive when you see these. Looks a little strange, but driving it is just, you know it's a Land Cruiser immediately. I really like these headlights. They're not over the top, but they're just nice. I like that. And of course you got the useless headlight washer. There's absolutely nothing. The radar sensor is actually here. See, a lot of cars are moving it down. This one is pretty high, which I like that. You hit the little bit of the bumper at the bottom, it's not going to affect it. And that is pretty cool. Now, this particular one is an over-trailed, so this is black. Some of the trims, like the ultra luxury, whatnot, this is chrome, and it makes it a lot worse and a lot more obvious. This one is a little bit more subtle, and I like how they made this part black also to kind of blend it in a little bit better, so it doesn't be extremely defined as a giant spindle grille. Having said that, let's move to the side, and this is where we need to step back far away and just look at it. I mean, understated is what this reminds me of, because you will not find a lot of cars that cost $116,000. This is how much this one costs new. With a door that is this simple. There's only one line in the bottom, and that's it. There's nothing going on in the door. Because if it ain't broke, don't fix it, folks. This is why this, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, this will still be relevant, just like the previous one and the one before it, because it's not overstyled. That's the nice thing about this. You have one line here, and that's it. Same thing in the back. Not over the top. The only part that is a little bit strange here is this curve right here, or a fake curve. It's actually not a curve, it's straight. But you have this line that makes this look like a different panel. That's the only part that's, yeah. But this particular one is an over trail. So it does have this side step, which is the first thing that's going to get destroyed off-roading. But as we talked about when we look underneath it, this is removable. It's there when you need it, but you can actually remove this and it doesn't feel like half the car is missing. That's a nice thing. The wheels. Not the best looking wheels on the planet, but they are actually proper for off-road because they're 18-inch. This is basically the smallest wheel they can put to fit the brakes and the biggest tires they can put. That is how you do it. I love that this is painted. I mean, you'd expect that from an expensive car like that, but we've seen some that are not. And this one is painted, and I like the paint quality. It's actually, the paint quality on this is the next level. Lock, unlock both doors wirelessly. You expect that from a car that costs this much, I hope. Let's go in the back. The back is mixed feelings. Mixed feelings about the back. On the one hand, I love this. This is Lexus. It's doing really good in this department. This looks amazing. It just looks classy. It looks beautiful. It's a really nice font. And I like how they didn't go overboard. LX700h. That's all the badging that's all you need to know. Is this 600 or 700? Although it should be a 340, but we'll move past that. There's one thing all new cars are doing this. Where's my bumper? You back into one of those yellow things in the gas station, you hit it, you're immediately going to hit the door. There's no bumper at all. Unlike the GX 550 that we reviewed previously, this one doesn't look odd. You don't have that strange thing that pops out. The trailer hitch is hidden as we looked at, but it doesn't look bad. And I like that. I wish they did the GX 550 like that. Let's take a look in the back. This is where, yeah, we have some things. This one, the Overtrail, does not have a third row. And for that, in the Monroney sticker, they give you a credit of $1,750. That is unheard of. Usually, luxury car companies will give you a lesser car and charge you more for it. This one, they give you a credit. How nice of them. And instead, you get a tiny little storage. You might be wondering, why is that storage like all the way there? Well, that's because of the batteries here. Hyper battery. That's yeah. You don't have any other storage. That's the only interesting part, because they had to make room for the battery. But you do have the 12-volt battery here. And something I would like to say, most hybrids, Toyota hybrids, when they put the battery in the back, they will put the flimsiest cover in the planet. This is the exception. This feels very nice. I wish they would do that in all of them. Super easy to pull, and it doesn't feel like it's gonna break. That's what I like about this. And the quality of the, look, this is all plastic. And some folks will be complaining, oh, it's $116,000. Why is it all plastic? Exactly. Because the plastic feels actually very nice. I know we could use some aluminum, nice stuff, whatnot, but in this particular trim, I don't think you should, because this is the off-road model. You don't want a very nice aluminum piece that's going to get scratched and whatnot. You want something durable, and that's what you get. I like that. At least if you're going to make a off-road purpose model, it's going to have the things that actually matter, and I like that. Let's take a look at the interior. And this is this, I think, is the part that a saying that used to be said about the 200 series. The 200 series Land Cruiser, the best way to describe it is off-roading in comfort. That's what was said about it. And it's the exact same thing here. I mean, this interior is very comfortable. Very comfortable. But at the same time, as big as this SUV is, you don't feel like it's a giant thing or you have like a mile between you and the passenger. It feels cozy. And it's a feeling I can't describe it in words. It just feels cozy. It doesn't feel like something massive. It is, but it doesn't feel that way. For example, you look at the dash. The dash is very tall, but there's not a football field in front of you. You actually utilize the space pretty effectively, and I really like that part. We look at the center stack. Now this one, being the 700H, this is one of the differences. You have the, depends how you look at it, we have the Prius shifter on the one hand, or the LC500 shifter. But now this got an upgrade. This shifter is a 700H shifter. Very familiar shifter, very simple to operate. Park is a button, drive, reverse. If you push it to the side, it's neutral. They've been using this for a very long time, and the Prius started and then everybody else. We look more on and this is, I think, where this car can be taken both ways. It could be taken as it's ancient, but I think that's the intent, or it's functional. It's basic. They kept things basic. For example, your heated and cooled seats. They're basic. They're just buttons. You cannot make them more basic than that. Your majority of your HVAC controls, they're physical button. You have a dedicated screen here for some of your suspension controls and your HVAC controls. You have the crawl control, drive mode, mountain select. You push which one you want to change, and then it's physical button to operate it. Your for high, for low. It's also a rotary dial. We didn't have to go through a screen and menu and whatnot. But the best thing about this car is that this comes a little bit from a different era and a different kind of mindset. You don't have a screen that goes from here all the way here. Now, the opposite side of that is some folks that are willing to pay this much for this car may want that. And that's where this car needs to be understood before you buy it. This is an understated car intentionally. It's a 300 series Land Cruiser, folks. It's fancied up to be a Lexus. So this split screen, The good about it is it keeps things simple. The bad thing is you notice a significant difference in quality between the two screens. This is the latest infotainment system from Toyota. This one is a very older screen. The colors are not the same. The touch response is not the same. You could tell it's an old one. But on the flip side of that is because we don't have a giant screen, the vents are very, like, they actually take air and blow it to you. Because most modern cars with a massive screen, you have to put the vent so low in such an awkward position and they're so small, you can't even get good airflow. It's because this car is old school. I mean, this car is so old school, you don't even have a panoramic sunroof. You have a manual shade. I mean, some economy cars are starting to have power shade. This one has a manual. Because if it's not broken, don't fix it. Steering wheel. Most Lexus is going with that strange heads-up display. This one is the easiest, nicest steering wheel to operate. I love it. It cannot be simpler than that. But then we talk about the safety tech, and this is where it gets a little annoying. This has driver monitor, probably the most hyperactive driver monitor. I mean, literally, you put your hand here for a moment, beep, beep, it's beeping at you. You're stopped waiting for traffic, somebody's passing, it's beeping at you. It's like, I know, I'm stopped so they would pass. It's just very hyperactive, and you end up shutting all this stuff off, and you paid for it. That's the problem. I wish it was a little bit more creative, use a little bit better AI to distinguish between, are you actually distracted or are you actually just moving your hand over the monitor? That's what we wish. This is the part of the Land Cruiser, the cool box. This is like a hallmark of the Land Cruiser, and this is a very important part. They did give you a wireless charger right here, which I think is a really nice spot for it. The gauge is an old screen. It does some stuff. It's not the highest tech one, but I think the highlight of this car, interior-wise, first, how comfortable it is, how quiet it is. I mean, these tires are pretty loud. You can barely hear them here. And the second thing is, the mindset I think the person who will buy this car should have: humble, simple, not show off. That's exactly what this interior is about. I mean, this giant behemoth that is like screams show off. This interior is not it. If you're after that, there's nothing wrong with that. You paid this much, you want to be proud of it as well. This is not it. This is a humble interior. And that is the important part, before getting into one of these. Having said that, let's go take a look under the hood, because that's when the major changes are between the 600 and 700H. This is the famous or infamous V35A FTS, an engine that had such high potential to being really great, but it's having problems. That's the problem. Let's talk about it. So this is a 3.5 liter V6 twin turbo, because they are discontinuing all V8s. And slowly, we're not going to have a single V8 from Toyota and Lexus. That's unfortunately the emission standards are pretty stringent. Let's start with some mechanical constructions briefly. We've covered this engine so much, and it's such a famous engine now that, yeah. Plastic valve covers at the top. You do have a two-piece cylinder head, roller rockers, hydraulic lifters. It's a time and chain engine. This is the truck iteration of that engine. So this engine has two iterations. One for the LS500 in 2018, when it first came out, that has the dual intercoolers, liquid to air intercoolers, and it does have the coolant management valve. This one is a truck iteration. It has a single conjoined intercooler, liquid to air, and no coolant management valve. VVTi is pretty simple here. It's oil controlled. The cooling system is somewhat simple until you look at the other side. So you have a mechanical water pump, you have a thermostat, you don't really have any coolant management valve or anything, but the turbo, two turbos, liquid coolant and oil cooled, they do have electronic wastegate, and they do have a liquid to air intercooler. What that means is you don't have an intercooler in the front. They use coolant to cool the air charge, which means the intercooler sits all the way at the top of the engine. It's one big intercooler for both sides, and that has its own circuit of coolant. And it does have two radiators for some reason, one on each side for the intercoolers, even though it's one intercooler. And for the bottle that contains that coolant, they decided to go with this style. They're probably very proud of it. It's one bottle that's actually two containers. It's just one unit. So when the bottle leaks, you have to do both sides. In their defense, is a pretty high quality bottle, which I really admire that. Right now, we have just described the LX600, the hybrid system. Basically, it's the same hybrid system from the Tundra, the Sequoia, and this. So it's a 1 MHV or 1 motor hybrid vehicle. The way they do this is you have a 10-speed automatic transmission with a torque converter. It's a normal everything. You have a normal gasoline engine and everything. In between them, though, you have a module that contains an electric motor and a clutch. That electric motor can start the engine, can drive the transmission, or if the engine is running and the clutch is engaged, the engine will turn that motor and the transmission to drive the car, and then that motor will charge the battery. Let's just say one thing. This system is not really meant for fuel efficiency. Something to really understand and know. This is meant to give this powertrain more power for towing, for driving, for whatever the case may be, but it's not meant for efficiency. It helps a little bit, but don't expect typical hybrid numbers from this system. That's not going to happen, because this is a pretty heavy car, pretty big car, not aerodynamic at all. It's just a giant box. So the intended purpose of this hybrid system is more power, and more power, it does not disappoint at all. This thing is a lot faster than the LX570, the outgoing model, the 5.7 V8, and the hybrid system is relatively familiar at this point. You do have the inverter that sits where the normal 12-volt battery would be. It would just sit under this cover. You see the orange wires. And then this also does not have a belt-driven AC compressor. This does have an electric compressor. You see the wire going to it right here. It does have its own dedicated cooling system for the inverter. You see the other bottle right here. So technically, this car has 3 cooling systems. That's one more complication. Let's talk about a few things, because this engine, like I told you, it has the potential to be a very good powertrain from a driving perspective. It sounds good. It has plenty of power, immediately available power pickup. I mean, it takes a giant behemoth. You're not going to feel like it's underpowered at all. There are moments in the 570 when you do, but this one, you do not. But that comes at a cost, and a big one. The thing is very complicated. The idea of having the intercooler sit on top of the engine complicated things significantly. There's a lot of piping, a big component sitting on top. The feeling with this engine is when you open the hood and look, where's the engine? All you see is just a sea of wires and hoses and all kinds of stuff. Where's the engine? You really have to dig deep to find it. That's the problem. Second thing is, they have a mechanical fan. They do this with all this truck iteration of this engine. They have a mechanical fan with a solenoid that can lock it on demand. So why don't we just put an electric fan? I don't know why they do that. That's just how it is. Very busy engine bay. That's a down product. Although if you look at the V8, it was also busy. Not as busy as this, but it was not a little 4-cylinder that was easy to work on either. Let's talk about the quality of things, because I own a 2024 Tundra hybrid. I'm very jealous, because this is made in Japan. I mean, you immediately notice the difference in quality. Immediately. The plastic feels better. The radiator feels better. It's a big, giant radiator. Everything just feels higher quality. But the question remains, and the most important question, is the engine any better? It was the biggest shocker for me when they recalled the LX600 for the engine. I hope this one holds, but time will tell, because if they get this engine right and they figure out, I hope the problems are behind them, we'll see. If they figure this powertrain out, the complicated part will remain, but this engine just drives great. Feels great, has plenty of power, it's immediately available power. It's a worthy replacement of the V8 from the power standpoint. Complication, I mean, it is an expensive car, I get it, but I just hope it holds and they figure out the issues that we're having. Hopefully they're behind us. Time will tell. But one last note on this, and this is just, I don't know why there's the case. The V35 has 2 air filters because one was simply not good enough. You have one over there with its own individual mass airflow, and then you have one here with the mass airflow. You know what this reminds me of? The V12 Century. It was basically half split, and you have One thing for each bank. This is kind of a takeaway from that, I suppose. Final thoughts on this are mixed. Let's put it this way. On the one hand, this LX with this exact color holds a special place in my heart for reasons that has nothing to do with the car. 3 years ago, actually a little bit over 3 years ago, it was this very car with this very color, it was a press loan that I was driving, is when I tendered my resignation as a dealership, put all my tools in the back, came to the shop to start. It was this very car, and this was the car I was driving in those very nerve-wracking moments. So seeing a Nuri green Lexus LX, it just brings me back to that moment. Very mixed emotion moment. But having said that, let's talk about this car, because this car will have two complete opposite avenues of final thoughts. The first one is, let's start with the positive. This is a 300 series Land Cruiser. I mean, they did not take a tiny compromise. This is a very understated car for this segment. And you might be looking at this giant grille and wondering, how is this understated? Because when you look at cars in this segment, this is very understated, very old school. You look at the interior, everything is physical button. Technology is not really there. You don't have a giant screen from the headliner down. That's not its purpose. It's meant to be humble and focused. Because when we go to off-road capabilities, this is serious. Especially this particular trim, the Overtrail, it's serious. You have that AHC that can lift this thing so high. You have the tires, you have the covers underneath it, and it is a capable platform to begin with. Triple lockers, the thing is serious. You see the leather on the inside, it's like, this is my idea of luxury off-roading, because you will be so comfortable there as you are going in places that very few cars will actually make it. That's the one side of this. The other side, though, is, yeah, that's all great, but who is the buyer of $116,000 trucks is the problem. See, when this is 10 and 15-year-old, this will be like the hot car to buy, because then they are more affordable. But at $116,000, the buyers in that area usually want a modern car, something that is cutting edge, something that is the envy of the neighborhood. This doesn't do that very well. Does it for me, does it for Jose, who's filming, but not for the person who's actually buying it new. That's the problem. And this has been the problem since the LX started. It's too expensive for the people that love it to buy, and it's too understated and humble for the people who can actually buy it and they want a statement. And I get that. You spend this much, you want it to be my car, to be a statement. This, not really a statement. It's a Land Cruiser. Land Cruiser is a humble car. And in this segment, humble car doesn't do well. And that just breaks my heart, but at the same time, it's reality. Because you look at the competitors of this car, I mean, they are miles ahead in technology and over the top. This, very simple. The interior, I mean, that screen is so small at the top. The middle screen is like super old school. The sunshade doesn't even open on its own. They have very basic luxury features. It does have massaging seats, so we'll give it that, but features like that are no longer what buyers in this segment look for. They want cutting-edge technology. They want over-the-top flashy look. Just doesn't have that. And so we arrive at the same thing. And sorry to say this, Lexus and Toyota equally. We have the same problem with the Land Cruiser. That's why the big Land Cruisers don't sell well in the US, because they're too expensive. I know they made the 250 series, although that has its own challenges, but we arrive at the same thing. This is one of those cars that is a heritage car. You can't mess with heritage. And this has such a deep heritage. This car has some things that make you wonder, but equally when I look at a car like that one, that FJ40 right there, that's what this is. This is what traces its lineage too. That also has stuff that makes you wonder. It's exactly the same way. You just don't change. That's the part. But that is a Land Cruiser enthusiast talking. Problem is, it's simply too old for its price for the buyers in that price range. On the Land Cruiser part though, they did that beautiful. Honestly, the only concern I have that with this car from a Land Cruiser perspective, the engine. They've had the recalls, they've had the issues. It's pretty loud. I mean, this engine now is, everybody knows what this engine is, but if they get it right, and I have to admit, as an owner of this engine, if they get this engine right, we don't have issues anymore. It's a very nice engine to drive, and it befits this car very well because it's pretty fast, pretty responsive. With a hybrid system, it's even more responsive. If they get it right, they got this car right. They got this Land Cruiser right. That's all I'm going to say. I just hope the engine issues are behind us and we move on, because as a Land Cruiser, this will be the hottest car when it's 5 to 10 years old. Unfortunately, new, it's not a big seller for obvious reasons. Folks in this price range will want something flashy, and this is humble, focused more on quality over show off. And that's the reality. Folks, I hope this video was helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you liked it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.